like many parents, we'd like to think that we were raising our kid to follow the golden rule. My son Charlie had heard it 100 times. Just be the good guy, be nice, treat everyone the way you want to be treated. So one night, he was 10, he came to the table fanning a wad of cash. These were behavior bucks that the 4th grade teacher handed out to reimburse good behavior. So he starts counting the cash, and what the point was that the kids could go to an auction at the end of the year and use that money. So she kept it where the kids would see it every day. They'd walk by it, save for it, behave for it, and then at the end of the year end up in a bidding war over it. So my husband says, "How much you got there, buddy?" He holds up a hand while he finishes. $498, $499, $500. And I just gave Will $250. He only has $27, and he'd never get enough on his own to buy what he wants. So immediately, I'm thinking, who is this kid? And we both knew there's no way he got $750 for good behavior, $1 at a time. No way, his teacher caught him being that good. And so we were right. He said he'd been selling the gum and pencils that I had so lovingly put into his lunches to share with his friends. He was selling a piece of gum for $10. Not a pack, a piece. And then he says, "Oh, that reminds me, I'm going to need more pencils." But you know, the cost depends on who wants it too. Sometimes it's more. So I'm picturing him in a 3-piece suit on Wall Street, and my husband's picturing him in an orange jumpsuit hawking cigarettes in the prison yard. And while I'm fantasizing about the house he's going to buy me, my husband's giving me the fisheye. I didn't even want to look that way. And he says, "You know, you're going to have to talk to someone about this. He is abusing the system." So the next morning, off I go to rat out my kid. I sit down with the principal and apologetically explain how my son has been earning his behavior bucks. So the principal leans forward and says, "Okay, now that is awesome. Oh my God, what? I thought I'd seen it all. Where does this kid come up with that kind of thing?" And I was like, "Wait, what? He's abusing the system." And he says, "Yeah, but on the other hand, that piece of gum meant more than the $10 to that kid. And we tell him when it's spent, it's gone." I just was in shock. And he says, "Absolutely brilliant." And I walk out of there thinking, all right, it's obvious our son's got some kind of special power and a great mind for sales, but how do you harness that for good? And it was a few months later, into the 5th grade, Charlie came home complaining about the middle school. It was the first year they put the 5th grade under the same roof with the 8th graders. So I said, "Come on, Charlie, it can't be that bad." And he says, "Mom, you don't get it. Everyone I know is depressed. One girl started cutting, another kid got busted for pot, and 2 kids were doing it at recess." Okay, he was almost 11, so they were probably just making out. We'll figure that. At the same time, I found out that my niece's school, the junior high, had to outlaw the colors pink and baby blue. Kids were coming to school wearing the wrong gang colors and getting caught up in fights. Kids who wore pink and baby blue were getting beat up for wearing gang affiliation colors. Could you imagine that meeting? What are we going to do? I don't know. We're never going to end the gangs, so let's just outlaw the colors. So they did have to go to a uniform, and that kind of smoothed things out. But Charlie said, "I don't get it. Why can't they do good?" And I totally agreed. Where were the good guys? So it was at the flag football sidelines that I found out other moms had the same concerns. How do we grow up good kids to be good grown-ups? So then 5 moms and 5 decided to get their 5 boys together to do good for others. We knew we could start volunteering with them ourselves, but it wouldn't last long. As soon as Charlie saw he was the only kid there, it would be a little different to get him back. But if his friends were there too, then it's good. We also knew that we wanted them to learn to do good things because it was the right thing to do, not for praise or rewards or behavior bucks, but just because it was the right thing to do. So we got the kids together, and we talked about the concept of anonymous random acts of kindness, which, if you bring up a superhero, they totally get it. Not that we'd have any bad guys following us around, but they liked the idea of being anonymous like a superhero. And they liked the idea of being sneaky. And by being anonymous, the people that we helped didn't have to worry about who to pay back for that help. We just do a nice thing. Maybe we could ask those people to pay it forward, and do something nice for someone else. So what if we had a card? We could leave that behind, challenging those people to pass on the kindness. It would spread, and we'd start a revolution. Well, the kids loved that. They were all in. So then we also wanted to make sure that we invited as many kids as we could. So they actually turned out to be about 13 do-gooders after a while. But this first little group of the 5 boys were amazing. And then we actually got the junior high to help us with it. They would call the boys down to the office and hand them each a black envelope with their mission in it. The mission letters always started like a directive for Mission Impossible. Your mission, should you choose to accept, and it would always end with a warning, this message will self-destruct. So our first mission took us down the street from the school where one of the boys' moms pastored. As the pastor of the church, she knew elderly people who needed help with their yards. Their biggest concern was not being fined by the city when they didn't get their yards raked fast enough for the leaf truck to come. So there they found 2 addresses and a bunch of rakes. The boys raked the yard like ninjas, jumped in the piles, and then re-raked again. They left their card behind in the person's screen door and then ran to the next yard. So we had to take a picture and document how cute they were on their first mission. We're like, what are you doing? You guys, we're trying to take a picture, put the rakes down. And one of them says behind his rake, we're unanimous. We were like, I think they get it. So from there, we had James Jones coming to the area to speak on team building. I knew I couldn't get the boys there, so we made a poster telling him how much he and his wife had inspired this young group of athletes to do community service like they did. So when James Jones signed the poster, he said, "That's what I'm talking about. Start them early." The kids couldn't believe it. Well, a few months later, their group won a community service award. James Jones sent them each a signed autographed picture of himself. You know, those kids all compared the signatures after they accused me of handing out copies. If there was any more kids, I would have hit that printer pretty hard and I would have been busted, but yeah, it was all kosher, so it was good. So then word reached Jonathan Swanson of Thumbtack in San Francisco. He sent the boys each a pair of sunglasses, and it became their signature. So then they started wearing the sunglasses after they did the good deed or whatever, and we get group shots. He still sends us sunglasses to this day. The kids love it. I showed him the article where Thumbtack was in Forbes magazine because Google had invested in them as a startup, and they were actually a unicorn business. And the kids were amazed that someone famous sent them glasses. And I told him that he used to be an 11-year-old boy just like them. So that was a really cool thing, too. And he still sends glasses, and I still tell the stories to the kids. So from there, we had, when we had big plans, the kids would go on the radio, and the announcer would keep their identities a secret, calling them Agent A, B, or C. We would go on TV, and they'd let them wear their sunglasses, where their identity, again, would be kept a secret. We had speakers come and visit that made them realize they were a team of do-gooders in the community. We had a couple of sergeants in the Army, we had policemen, and we had nonprofit members. The kids were invited to visit and volunteer at food pantries, retirement homes, and the veterans home. So from there, we had actually gone on to improve what we were doing, and somebody asked us if we would paint the food pantry wall. So we power washed the wall, power washed the parking lot because of the paint chips. The kids primed and painted bare trees that would be filled in with handprints from the 2 schools in the area. We had actually coordinated with our speech therapist who planned the logistics of getting every child from the middle school and the grade school to come and put a colorful handprint on the wall. When we first started talking about the project, running it by the kids, some of them didn't know what a food pantry was. So that opened up a new discussion to explain it. And one of the kids said, "I would never let my family go to a food pantry." So I got to explain how easy it is to end up at a food pantry, and nobody wants to go to a food pantry. So why not involve as many kids as we can, and that's where we decided to have both schools help us. So from there, the classmates came and they each put a handprint on the wall of the building that so many people would be seeing that needed a helping hand. So these are the boys that started it, and this is the wall. Thank you. Now we've got kids at 3 schools, and we still start in 4th grade. This year we've got an amazing group of 7th graders who are going to be leading, planning, and developing more things for the younger kids to do. It'll be super powered by the super energetic hands and feet of 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So again, when I look back and ask Charlie how many things or random acts of kindness he thinks we've done since we raked that first yard, he says hundreds. And when I ask him how many people he thinks we've reached, he says thousands, but it's really hard to gauge because it just keeps growing. With every kid that joins, it just keeps growing. So I'm not actually here to talk about the Secret Service. I'm here on a mission. And my directive comes from the kids. Your mission, should you choose to accept, this is from the kids. Be respectful, be kind, and help others. What are you going to do?